Make sure your insurance doesn't come up short. Get gap cover with ALA. For more information, follow the links in the description.
Hello everybody, today on the channel, success, defeat and Jags. I'm here today for an event called Jags at Oulton, Cheshire Cats. And it's very simple really. That's Oulton Park, and these are some Jaguars. And this event has been masterminded by a number of people, including the Jaguar Daimler Heritage Trust, who in conjunction with Jaguar Classic Works, the official heritage arm of Jaguar itself, they've brought an incredible selection of cars, some of which you might recognise, like this, one of the press cars from Austin Powers in Goldmember, and this, which you might not. But it's a very, very important car, because this ECD 400 was the first E-Type ever to see competition victory here at Oulton 65 years ago, driven by one Graham Hill. And it's Graham Hill that allegedly connected me to another very special E-Type in my life. It's this FHJ 281D, and in 2001 my dad bought this very car, and it came with an incredible history. The story was that Graham Hill, Formula One superstar, had bought it as a present for his mechanic for doing so well in the racing. It was also allegedly the one and only E-Type ever breathed upon by a very famous tuning firm called Coombs. It's also painted in this unique colour of Roman purple, and Dad had it from 2001 until 2007. When he sold it, and at that point I thought it was the last I would ever see of it. However, a few years later it appeared, of all places, in a German magazine. Purple E-Types being fairly rare, I saw some pictures of it. Then, many years later, when I was doing YouTube, I decided I wanted to find one of those pictures. So, into Google I went, Jaguar E-Type Purple. And up came a picture of this very car at the Motor Museum over at Gaydon. And I thought, what on earth is Dad's car doing there? Well, long story short, it turns out it's now owned by Jaguar themselves. Amazing. But though I managed to go and see the car and do a little video with it, there was a problem. A couple of things had happened to the car while it was in storage, and though they did use and drive it, at that time it wasn't in a drivable state, and the weather was pretty horrific. Shortly after, COVID came along, and owing to a change of personnel at Jaguar, I lost my contact there. And for the next 5 years, I refused to drive any E-Type because I knew where Dad's was. And if I was going to drive an E-Type, it had to be this one. But before that happened, not long after the video came out, I got a message from a chap saying, James, saw the video on your dad's E-Type. There's a problem though. The story you told is wrong. Now, as you can imagine, I'm fairly skeptical when it comes to people messaging me and telling me they know more than I do about my dad's car. Turns out though, the chap who contacted me, it was his dad that had bought this brand new, not Graham Hill. More than that, he was still around. A lovely chap from New Zealand called Barry Messiter. I spoke to him and he told me the story of this car. He'd come over from New Zealand and got a job working for Coombs, the noted Jaguar specialist. He desperately wanted an E-Type of his own and managed to buy one. More than that, because he'd made some friends, he got it in this colour, Roman purple, a £40 extra. And if he were to take the car with him back to New Zealand within a year, he wouldn't have to pay the tax on it. And so, that's exactly what he did. Unfortunately, a few years later, he had to sell it. It then moved around a few places before eventually coming to the United Kingdom, where it was sold by JD Classics. And JD Classics have a reputation in the world of cars, one I've talked about before. And all of the things, all of the story associated with this car, well, it arrived somewhere between Australia and to the car landing at JD Classics, who also sold it for my father, who was very, very upset when he was standing in WH Smith's one day and saw on the shelf a magazine with his car on the front of it, going around a track sideways. No one had asked him about that, and he certainly hadn't been paid for it. It is then that I believe it acquired its nickname, Purple Haze. And the theory was, today, having waited for 20 odd years, I was going to get to drive it. Fate, though, had different ideas, because this morning it started running rough. The lovely people at Jaguar Daimler Heritage, though, they've come up with a backup plan. And it's one, I think, that might make you a little bit jealous. It's not one of these, though I might actually drive this in a little bit, but I've driven this car before, and it's kind of mad. I drove an XJ220 before I drove an E-Type. Cool things. Ben Collins is here today in his, formerly known as The Stig, and we've been having a really good chat. He's a lovely, lovely guy, and we're hoping to do some things together. With luck, he might teach me how to drive properly. But what they're proposing to send me out in, I think, don't tell anyone, it's quite a bit more fun than this. It's got a machine gun and rockets out the front. I mean, look, I know this might not necessarily be a screen-used car. It could be, I'm not sure. It probably didn't do much driving. Those were heavily converted four-wheel drive ones. But this is a Die Another Day XKR. And if you're of a certain age, kind of my kind of age, though the film is terrible, the cars in it are extremely cool. And I've driven a Vanquish. Now I get to have a go in this. There's been a lot going on this year. 10 years of doing YouTube. It's a lot. It's kind of come around quite quickly, really. The last time I was here at Oulton Park, I was a film student, and I was going out filming a documentary on motorcycle club races. To me, to then be able to come back now, over a decade later, in fact, closer to 2 decades later, as a guest of the Jaguar Daimler Heritage Trust, to be asked by the guy who I watched on TV in the white suit if I'll do stuff with him, and then to be offered to drive this, it's really special. So if you've been enjoying this content and you haven't yet subscribed, please do. For everyone that has and has been watching, thank you. I'm going to get back to work now.
Now, I just thought, given how much stuff was there and how well supported it was, this was an event that had been running for years and I'd somehow missed it. But no, it was actually their very first time. And considering that, they did amazing. There was an incredible selection of road and race cars, with plenty going on, both in the paddock and on the track. Jags at Oulton is going to be a big part of my calendar going forwards. And I got invited to do something very, very special indeed, for they wanted me to take part at the front of a parade of some 100 different Jaguar XKs from across the years. And so, to lead us out, enjoy a little bit of footage from the day and also some of the many Jaguars I have featured on the channel over the last 10 years. And thanks to every one of you for being a part of this journey. Bye-bye.